Gamer Dude 2088, and we're back for TOT 70. 60 was a pain, but you gotten past 60 and now you're stuck at 70, which is worse than 60. You want to know how the hell do you survive against the juggernauts? Because it's not even the boss that's the problem. It's the damn pesky juggernauts that one-shot your team and those paladins that keep everything alive. So you heard everybody say focus the paladins and then go for the jugs, and then you just sitting there for the next 30 years trying to finish this fight. But I'm here to tell you all of that is true. Every last bit of it. Even though it sucks. Now, I do want to get into saying, if you are getting one shot by the jugs, hopefully you're not bringing in any fire units, because they definitely not going to survive long. Then it's a problem with your glyphs. You need to make your units tankier, or if you're death broken, then that is unfortunate. But one fire unit that I would say that could be beneficial in this fight would be the fire druid, just to protect you against the crystalline veil. And you will want her to go before everybody, get the crystalline veil up, so if you do have something like a poisoner or a parasite unit, then you could apply and don't have to worry about being debuffed by the crystalline veil that the jugs have. Now, you are going to focus down the paladins one by one and do your best to keep the other paladins CC'd, so you can apply all your debuffs to kill the one that you're focusing first. After you get that one down, then it's pretty much smooth sailing. As you go along in this fight, it's going to be pretty difficult, because I'm like, even in the video itself, with me just trying to take it on, because I was trying to do this as F2P as possible, and it's really difficult trying to bring 2 stars into this fight. Well, it's really difficult trying to bring the teams that I've been showing you throughout the last like 6-7 videos that I've done for TOT or whatever. Probably not that many videos, but those units are kind of hard to bring in this fight, because I build them as practically glass cannons or something like that. They're pretty much meant to not get touched. And in this fight, you're going to get touched, because you can't debuff the boss. So he's going to hit you, and he hits like a truck. But you can mitigate that by bringing in a team full of water units. And you could bring a fire unit. You could bring like 1 or 2 fire units in. All depends. I think the fire golem is decent, because he's pretty tanky. He can take a good hit. I tried to run with him and it didn't work out too well for me though, but I was too busy doing a bunch of other things at the same time and not really paying attention to what was going on in my fight, so that was completely my fault. So I ended up changing my team, and I already had, I believe, water clops, because water clops is clutch, because you get to have the Mail of Thorns, and that is really beneficial going up against the boss, because the boss will practically kill itself off of the Mail of Thorns, as well as having the provoke, because you can still provoke the jugs even though they have the crystalline veil. That doesn't stop. The provoke still kind of goes through, at least I believe it does. It was going through. It's in the video. You might see it happen. I believe it does. So, but don't quote me on it. And my Herman didn't survive because he was also squishy. I have him built to be able to land his freeze as much as possible and not to survive. So had I changed maybe a glyph or 2 around, so he is able to take a hit, and maybe even if I brought my fire druid in instead, so I can make sure he keeps the CC going. I mean, Earth Clops is okay as well. I wouldn't go for the Earth Deer because he's really squishy, and the boss will definitely one-shot him even if you have defense glyphs on him. The Earth Clops will have a better chance because his base stats are decent, so he's pretty tanky, and he'll be able to survive most of the time, and the boss will focus on more at the same time too. But if you have the fire druid, that will probably be best, so you can bring in units like Hermit or your AoE poisoners. I wanted to try out the water fellow core because I believe that's a decent one for this fight, but at the same time you still got to worry about the crystalline veil if you don't bring in any kind of immunity unit or even immunity on him for that first turn. But I wanted to try him out, but I don't have him built on my account, and I think I just pulled one not too long ago. So I'll probably try that out in January, just to see how that is, if I'm able to build them at that time, because there's a lot of projects that I'm working on that I really want to do. Then at the but then at the same time, it's just like, well, having a team of water units is pretty beneficial, since the bosses fire and the jugs will randomly target a unit. So if your units are basic tanks, you shouldn't have a problem. I would shoot for anywhere from 1100 to 1300 defense, somewhere between 1400 and above on the HP side, to make sure you take those hits. Because a crit, there was a nasty crit on my water mauler. I call him Max, but on Max, there was a nice nasty hit from the boss that crit and like did, I think, like 1100. He had most of his health. He wasn't really low, but it practically one-shotted him, which kind of sucked, because he really helped with having the turn, giving us extra turn bars, as well as giving us the dodge, so we're not taking as many hits, especially from the jugs. So you can mix and match with any of the units that I have in the team that I have, if you have those units, including the units I said previously, if you have any of those, and kind of mess around with what you have. It's not really a tough fight once you can get the right stats and get the right team set up. Then it's relatively easy. It's just tedious because of how long the fight is. Now that the nightmare is over, let's talk about my units. Starting off here with Water Clops. He doesn't need to be 5-star, but I 5-starred him because I like him, and my plan was to bring him into TOT, mostly TOT Nightmare, but this stage was definitely needed for him. If you have this unit, he's clutch. I mean, like, definitely OP unit to have in this fight. I recommend him being brought into this fight over practically anything else just because of his capabilities. But once 5-starred, he does have a really high base defense, so it's easy to get like real high defense on him and decent HP as well. So he's the epitome of a tank, and he does his job relatively well, as you've seen in the fight. Let's see what we got going on here. And I believe he's double speed, HP def is what I had laying around, so that's what I put on him. If I could got, I think, another def percent on him, that would have been better, but didn't have the sub stats that really matched, or even a defense glyph to period, because those things are so hard to come by for whatever reason. Normally I would have brought Sapphire in. I would have brought Sapphire because Sapphire is just naturally tankier than Herman, because my Herman is just not meeting the requirements. I mean, the HP isn't bad, but that's just because we don't have actually the glyphs that we need to make them better. But I mean, the defense is terrible, so he's going to be easily one-shotted, and has such a low base defense. Like, the Basilisk family defense is just so low. Say the Basilisk family defense is just so low, so it's really hard to get good defense on them, even if you put 2, maybe even 3 defense glyphs on them. It's just so ridiculously hard to get the stats. So I just said I wouldn't even focus on that personally. If you can get a defense buff up with decent stats on him, then he might be able to survive or hit. I think the biggest thing was just having the immunity on the team to make him work. Now I did try to bring him in, which he's okay, but it just didn't work out right away because I just wasn't really paying attention to my game because I got like my alt account and a whole nother game playing in the background, so that was my fault. But I'll probably go back and try it again, not now, but just to see how he works, because I'm sure he'll be a decent tank and he'll pull a lot of aggro. You just have to keep him alive. That's it. We go to tree, and my tree and my WHS haven't really changed. They don't, because they are part of the big 3. They don't really change much, because they just got the best of the best. So that's just that. Tree, double speed, def HP, just typical stuff. And WHS should be double speed, HP is it def and resistance. Yeah. To make sure she just had the utmost resistance ever. Now she's definitely lacking on the defense category. So you can see quite a few times she was taking some hits that she really didn't, and that was pretty bad. That was pretty bad, but when she got Tree with her, she generally makes it because, Tree, that's her dude. Like, they be like doing their thing and stuff. And Tree ain't gonna let this lady just go down like that, Then we got Max here, who is also decent. If he really need more defense. HP is okay because HP is not really a big thing. You don't really want a lot of HP on him anyway, because wow, his glitch wasn't even leveled up. You really don't want a lot of HP on him anyway, because of his passive where he sacrificed 20% of his HP. So he's going to lose that, which is going to give so much benefit towards your team. He's a really clutch unit to have. And if you have him, I definitely urge building him. Not necessarily for this fight, but just in general, because he works well in raid and PvP, your dungeon teams. I mean, you can practically use him any and everywhere in this game, and he's definitely effective. The dodge capabilities, he's a booster as well. He just does so much in one kit that it's really good. Then you got you got the beneficial block and a death break, which is helpful. He has random glyphs on him because I had purged his glyphs back in the last glyph removal, so the last official glyph removal, because I know sometimes we get those emergency ones, but I purged his glyphs and put them somewhere else because I needed them. So I just threw some random ones on that I had laying around in the box, and I didn't really level them up, so I totally forgot, because I was sitting here like, how can I make a F2P team that can do this? So I didn't use any 4 stars, but it's really rough trying to bring 2 stars into this fight just because their base stats are so low. And you can see Herman, he died early. Even my Mah-Lon died, but I mean, that's more of a glyph thing than actual stats or whatever. It's pretty difficult if you don't have like decent enough units. I was gonna attempt to use the water kappa. I might mess around and try that again, even though his glyphs is just random as well. I was just messing around and testing him out a while ago. He doesn't even have any skill up, so he's not going to be as effective. But it definitely will help given the advantage for units that you have that may be like fire. If you bringing in some kind of fire tank, bringing in a fire tank, or if you bringing in, let's say you had like the earth fellow core, then having a unit like him will kind of protect the earth fellow core if you was doing something like that. But for the most part, you want to bring in some really good water units, like some and tanky as you can possibly get them. Hopefully you can meet those stat requirements. Speed is kind of an issue a little bit, because you can see that the boss is definitely over 140 speed, probably about 150. Nah, I don't think it's over 160, but somewhere around that ballpark. And as well as the fire crusaders, both of them are pretty fast too. So you seen I was in a situation when I got beat out in the speed race. Yeah, so I think they're just under, because he's at 154, so they're probably 150, somewhere around there, because WHS didn't really get her turn. He was way too slow, like his speed is like blah, but he was way too slow in the rotation, which kind of hurt, because had he got his turn and he was able to boost fast enough, then I would have been able to cycle and keep Herman alive during that fight. So I would have been able to rely on Herman CC a little more, or at least one more turn, rather than just only one turn, and wouldn't have to rely so much on WHS landing her confuse on the first skill. So yeah, you're definitely going to need to be able to CC at least the fire crusaders, at least one of the fire crusaders, while you work down the other one. That's going to be pretty important. And I think that's pretty much it. You know, bring water units for the most part. If you have the water clops and the water mauler, they're clutch for this fight. Water fellow core can be useful. If you have immunity units like the water colossus, the fire druid, or even the water colossus will need some hella glyphs to be fast enough, and the earth cyclops, then those can be beneficial in this fight as well. So this has been a long enough video. I hope this has been helpful to some of you. If you still are struggling, don't hesitate to add me in the MMEG Discord. My Discord link is in the description box below, so you can check that out too, and come and say something to me in my Discord or whatever. Also, if you like this video, man, thumbs it up. Yo, hit that subscribe button, that notification bell, so you can be the first to see my content. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. And I'm out. Deuces.